Gamification will you talk about? And it's not gamification from a sort of traditional, gaming perspective. It's gamification in industry, taking the sort of new technology into traditional branches. And Susanne, she has a background from ABB many years, working with research in software, user interaction, higher productivity, etc. And now she has started to work for SICS, and she will be responsible for the process program from Vinnova, Strategic Innovation Program, PiiA. But please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christer. So happy to be here. So gamification is the process of using game mechanics and the process of gamification, applying that into another domain. So you take game elements, applying them in another domain for engaging and motivating users. So that is what gamification is about. And then if you look at some studies, you can see that 71% of the population is not, they are not motivated at work. And then if you draw the parallel that if you're motivated, if you're engaged, you're 26% more productive at work. So that's why I want to connect gamification to that process or to that thinking, because, and also saying that fun at work is serious business. So then the goal of this presentation is that you should understand what gamification is about. I want you to understand the connection with gamification and industry. And then to do that, I've set up this presentation as a game, so you will actually experience gamification, or that is at least my intention. And of course, in games, you need rules, so that's the first thing. So if all women can raise up their hands. Yes, okay, and all men. Okay, so remember now your colleagues, so you will compete now, men against women. And so that is the rules. And what's also really important is that you will, you will see the progress. So this is your two teams. So pink ladies and blue men. So you will go from this spot to the end, the goal. And what is measured is the number of interactions you have with me. But so I will give you a challenge, and you need to answer that challenge, and you get points for that. And what you also will do is to level up during the presentation. So we will start with the first level soon. So I just want to give you a few words of myself. So this is me. Last week at Skutskär Bruk, Stora Enso, a paper mill, which was, So Christy already said I worked for ABB, grown up in the industry, have a software background, worked a lot with user experience when I realized I had developed really complex to use products, and working with ease of use, effectiveness, and providing fun products. Also a comment to this, I will actually work as a summer worker at Skutskär Bruk as an operator, which that will be super exciting. And then let's go to PiiA, just a short explanation. What is PiiA? So PiiA is a strategic innovation program that is funded by Vinnova, Formas, and Energimyndigheten. And why do we have this strategic innovation program? Yeah, that is to make it possible for process industry to be competitive in the future, to not become this lazy cat drinking a light beer, thinking that we're super good, but to really take some action and do something about it. And to not become, in 10 years, become these closed down factories, as you will see here, but to take the opportunity to stay competitive. So PiiA has funds for making that possible. But now we start with the game, so level 1. And what you see here is the level 1 in Super Mario. And the leveling, that is a game mechanics you usually see in all kind of games. And in the first level in Super Mario, what you do is you jump. You learn to jump. That is the mechanic you're really showing that you will manage. The overall target is for Super Mario to go from the first to the start point to the end goal and maybe save the princess. So to do that, he is jumping then. And that is the common goal for all levels in Super Mario. But on the first level, it's jumping. So when you see a question mark on the screen, I will ask you a question, and then you're encouraged, and you get points for answering that question. So first level is about creating an understanding of what is gamification, the basics within game design. And this was the figures I mentioned before. Why is it important? Yeah, if we have more fun at work, we are more productive. And what makes us, what motivates us? Yeah, it is to have fun, it is growth and recognition. And that is crucial elements that you find in all kinds of game. You have fun, you get feedback, you see progress, and you actually grow as a player. And then if you look at gamification, it actually origins in the field of user experience. So that is one twist in user experience. I worked in user experience for quite some long time, and I just want to explain the importance of that. It is, as I said, to be out where you have the users, to really understand them, to be able to design products and systems that are easy to use, effective to use, and also fun to use. And the gamification part really focus on the experience part of user experience. And you can imagine that this is quite important if you think about a big company where you have a department for software development, you have a department for the market department, who has the access to the customers and the users. And at the user side, you also have the same kind of chain. So to get the user's needs from the user to the product developer, it's quite a long chain, and in some cases, it's like a whisper game. So this connection is very important to develop good products. So that was very short about user experience. And of course, in the industry, it's really important to understand the domain. I mean, it's an extreme environment, and if you sit in a office space that looks like this, you cannot design good products and systems if you don't know for what extreme environment you're designing it for. Okay, so now to gamification. And what I've realized, and what I think and consider is really interesting with this field, is that it's a lot of tensions in the field. So you will find gamification research, and the gamification research talks a lot about the processes, the methods, what is it about, how to take these game design elements, putting them in another domain, and so on. And they are quite, on earth, to say. And then you have the evangelists, and the evangelists think that they can save the world applying gamification. So Jane McGonigal is an evangelist that I follow quite a lot, and for example, her main goal is to take the Nobel Prize in peace. So that's the evangelists. And then you have the game developers who think that both the evangelists and the gamification research just talks and talks. They don't do anything. I mean, the game developers, they know how to do this. They have designed games. What is this talk about? And then you have the user experience, who just see that gamification is one spot of the experience part of user experience. It's really their field. So it's a lot of tensions. And I'm working now in a strategic project, together with Find It, that is funded by PiiA, where we have people from all these different disciplines in the project. And that is quite a fun experience. So then, what is a good game? If you think about the computer game, you probably think about points, the badges, scoreboards, giving points, doing an activity. But there are more crucial elements that needs to be in a game to have a good game. And if you look at this flow diagram, I think you all have seen it, probably once or twice. It talks about how important it is to have people in this flow channel to be productive, to feel good. So on one axis, on the x-axis, you have your skill, and on the other axis, you have the challenge. If you get too little challenge, you're bored. If you get too much of a challenge, you get stressed and don't feel good. If you look at computer games, they are perfectly designed around this flow channel. They always strive for having their user in the flow channel. And that is also something that is part of, like a mandatory thinking or at game developers. They want to design, it's the first rule, always design so that the user can manage the game, to keep them in this flow channel. And then when they are in this flow channel, they sometimes drop. you get down, you maybe fail a challenge, but you will still be in this flow channel. And the intention of that is that you will learn from your mistakes. You're supposed to fail once or twice, to reflect upon what did I do wrong in this game, to then improve. And then to some other parts, is it just points and badges, and what is a game? This is a picture of Bianca, my daughter, and this is inspired by Sebastian Weterding, who is a researcher within gamification. So this is my daughter, Bianca, when she's out jumping, and it just reminds me very much of my way to my school. So I started from home, I went like 2 kilometers to school. It was a really boring road. But when I then started to take my walk, I made up a lot of stories. It was like, I was going in a forest, it was a lot of demons, and if I didn't manage to jump on these lids where you had a K, I was really failing, become eaten by the demons. And if I accidentally were jumping or touching a lid where you had this A, then it was I needed to stand still, for example, for 3 seconds. So as people, we are game developers. We think about gamification just to make our lives more fun. So meaning is a really crucial part of all games. And then another really important thing you find in all games is feedback. I think you all can draw, have a connection to these two pictures. When you cut the lawn, for example, you start to build up like patterns. You divide this whole lawn you're going to cut in sequences. You do it with different patterns. And when you're painting the walls, it's really nice to get this immediate feedback on the result. So feedback is really crucial. Immediate feedback, but also progress feedback. What you see here on the wall is the progress feedback. And then the freedom, sense of freedom. It needs to be a free playground where you all can meet in the game. So just as a summary on this first level, so it's not just points, badges, awards. It needs to have a meaning. You need to have immediate feedback embedded, and it needs to be a space of freedom. And now let's see if you can level up. So what is gamification about? Having fun, yeah?
Staying in the flow channel.
Staying in the flow channel, yes. Yes?
Mistakes.
Makes mistakes to learn, yes, definitely.
Earn money.
Earn money. Yeah, in the end, maybe, okay. Motivate people, perfect.
To have meaning, it requires feedback.
Yeah, super, Darja. Yeah, so women in the lead. So let's go to the level 2. So if you remember Super Mario, in the first level, he learned to jump. In this level, he's also learning to jump, he's shooting, and he's doing those two in parallel. It's still the same target, going from A to B, saving the princess. But the level, here you need to be, more skilled in combining those two mechanics that is a part of the game. And what you will do now in the second level of the application is to see examples where gamification has been applied. So first one, a really crappy picture of Runkeeper, but Runkeeper is a typically gamified application. So what you're doing, gamification is usually really good to put on something where you have an activity you're doing, but you want to do that activity more fun. And that is exactly what Runkeeper do. It measures the distance, it measures the speed to engage you to run more, to motivate you better. Another example is Stack Overflow. Have you seen Stack Overflow? Do you know what it is? Yes, I guess so. Yeah, yes, of course. So Stack Overflow is a complete, is a knowledge base, origins from software. And you get points for asking questions, you get points and awards for answering the questions. And then you build up your own reputation in this forum. And even if you would remove all kind of points and badges in this system, it would still have a meaning. So it's also an application that really shows that it has a meaning. which is a crucial thing in all applications that are gamified. Another example that shows gamification in one way is Airbnb. Also in this system, similar to Stack Overflow, you have this, you're voting both the person who is renting the house and you're voting the actual renter. So it is a similar mechanism in one way as you have in Stack Overflow. But what it also is, it's like completely user-driven. It is like it's managed itself, and that's also something that is very common in gamification. You have user-driven applications that is driven by motivation, freedom, and so those are two applications that shows that. Another thing that you see in Stack Overflow that is very common is this mastery that combines the gamification with that you actually are, learning something. It's connected to a skill that you really want to have. You are proud for it. It's a good community where you want to show off. And then another thing that is an element that you... So let's see if you can level up. So what is important when you apply gamification? Can you give some examples of things you usually see in gamified applications?
Getting progress feedback.
Super, Daria. You are like this master student. Leveling, yeah. Developing skills. Community, yes. User-driven.
I think it's interesting when you also mention different. I mean, you can get the status for showing mastery, but you also want freedom, of maybe exploring more of the world or whatever. So
Yeah.
you need the rewards that are of different types.
Exactly.
Different motivations.
Yeah, you need the rewards that are really also meaningful for you.
Move it to them.
Yes. Yeah. Learning. Yes. Mastery, absolutely. It's a crucial part of games. Okay, still women in the lead. So let's see. Now we come to the level 3. And what you also see in the levels is that it's not only linked to, for example, getting points. Now I have 1,000 points, I level up. Level 2, I get 2,000 points. It's linked to something gets more complicated. You're tested in another way. So, for example, in this level, you will see that the track that Super Mario needs to travel is more complex. He needs to be much more efficient when using the mechanics in the game. Okay, so now what you will be tested on in this level is the industry connection. And I've been working for ABB for quite some long time, and 2010 we did this extensive study, user study, interviewing operators. And the result was that we saw 3 kinds of operators working in the control room. And as I think all of you know, is that we have a generation shift in industry. We will change, the new people that have grown up with other technologies now entering the industry. And that we also see in the control rooms. So in this picture, you see 3 people, 3 persona description, fictive descriptions of typical operators working in the control room. You have Tom, who is a senior operator. So he's responsible for the shift team. He's working a lot with analysis and doing more preventive analysis to make the process run efficiently. He has 20 to 25 years of experience within the same company. He has worked for 15 years out in the field. He knows all equipment. He knows the mechanics. He can both work hands-on and he can control and monitor the process through the software systems. Then you have Kumar. He's also really experienced. He has worked 15 years in the company. Have also extensive background from the field, and is a mechanical engineer from the beginning. And then you have these new operators that are coming into the control room that typically in Sweden start directly after high school. And they are very dependent on Tom and Kumar in this case. So Nick is very dependent on these two more experienced operators, because the system today is very much designed based on their experience and not Nick's experience. So if you ask Nick, it's a lot of waiting in the control room. It's hard to keep you alert and focused, because in the control system it is a lot of waiting. I mean, the process goes as smooth as possible if you don't need to do any action. And then if I then exaggerate Nick a bit, he's born 95, typically generation Z or late Y. I will not go into the generation details in this presentation, but he has played computer games since the age of 5. He has an APM on 220. Do you know what APM is? No. Actions per minute. Yes. So he has an action per minute on 220 in the computer game StarCraft, and that goes extremely fast. I did not manage to get the, yeah, it works. So you see, here's a Korean player. Do you see the movie? Yeah. And he has an APM of 370. And then you can also imagine that Nick's best friend, he has the highest level in World of Warcraft. And if you have the highest level in World of Warcraft, you're leading distributed armies in a virtual world. And there you can imagine the like future leaders. It's typically skill you need to have working for a global big company. And then multitasking, and then getting all this immediate feedback on what you're doing. This is like the typically day life. This is how the typically day life looks for the next generation. And then they come to the control room, where they're supposed to have 5 actions per hour if it's a critical situation. So we have like a new type of human that is emerging. So this pre-study, or this project I was talking about, trying to address this, how can we apply gamification in an industrial context to create a more engaging system? So if you remember these descriptions I gave on the personas, Nick, Kumar, and Tom, what you usually do in computer games, you work with player types. So we have developed 5 different player types based on the control room operators. So we have the achiever, we have the creative, the player, the socializer, and the disruptor in the control rooms. The achiever typically likes to check off lists. You have the creative that likes to solve puzzles. You have the socializers that are getting motivated by the social interaction with others. And you have the disruptor, which is he does things his way, which is a good skill to have as well. And you have the player who really likes to run the system. And based on that, you can see what motivates these different players. Now I will go in a bit referring to Jane McGonigal's work. So she, as I said before, is one of the evangelists in the area. And this is a picture that is developed as part of her research. And what they have done is that they have recorded players in the game World of Warcraft. And this is the moment before this player takes home the epic win. So before he realizes what he is fully capable of achieving. And you see he's fully focused, it's a super nice picture. But instead, we're really good in feeling really, I mean, in the games, we're a better version of ourselves, or we are the version that we would like to be. But then in real life, we feel not as good. It's really, and what then is important, why do we prefer to live in the computer world? So there is always a bigger meaning. The computer games are always designed to meet our capability. We always have a whole crew that wants to support us in the game to take the next step, and there's never any waiting. So if we just could build in those things within our industrial systems, we could create a difference. And then there's also research connecting to when do you get a real professional? It's the number of practice you're doing. And figure shows that next generation, when they are 21 years old, they will have played 10,000 hours of computer games. So they will have like a whole generation that are professionals in gaming. Couldn't we just apply that thinking to make our products more effective and better and more fun? And then I have some examples on connection to the industry. I mean, you can imagine, I mean, it's not so hard to apply Facebook maybe and also Stack Overflow to have a knowledge base to improve our operator skills in the control rooms. That could be a gamified application. This is another, and here we have applied 3D technology and a gaming engine to develop a more engaging application for follow-up of discrete the assembly process at ABB Robotics. And who wouldn't like to be the knight of the night shifts? So let's see if you can level up. And this time it's even harder because I will not even ask the questions. Sorry, gamer types. Yeah.
Use gamification to keep people alert.
Yeah. Great. Big leap for the women. Yeah. No waiting, no.
Use growth hacking, do gamification to get people to take action. I mean, I don't know, build blockchain-based tracking of values so we can gamify everything.
Yeah. That's the evangelists talking. Yeah. Sorry. All kids are not gamers. No, absolutely. It's a good reflection. So. Sorry.
Banana now management.
Banana. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No waiting, yeah. Juicy feedback. Yeah, definitely. I think we have a clear winner. So the goal with the presentation, I hope you have at least some more knowledge about what gamification is, that you have experienced parts of it. And remember meaning, feedback, freedom, mastery, and that fun at work is really serious business. Thanks a lot.
Keep the mic.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure you will have some questions here. Thanks for a fantastic presentation. It was a game. I appreciated that. And I also saw some really competitive people in the audience.
Yes.
Some extreme competitive people. So, questions, please.
Hi, have you received any pushback from mature industries when you're trying to introduce gamification as part of a user interface? And how do you address that pushback of not being taken seriously when you introduce gaming?
Yeah, actually, we have mainly received really positive response. And that is because the industries today have a challenge attracting new people into the industry. Because it is, I mean, if you are in an industry, it's like super engaging. It's like really cool stuff you're working with. And if you just attract the next generation to really get there and to have fun at work, it's a really huge difference you can make. So mainly it is positive response. But then a common misunderstanding with gamification is that it's turning everything into a game. There is a lot of competition, you see a lot of like cool technology, and it doesn't need to be cool technology as you saw in the examples. It's just applying small elements to make it more engaging.
Hello. Yeah, I think you posed one of the challenges very well, which is how to connect this fast-moving computer game mentality to the real world. And I can think there are applications of that, but in particular in terms of a process industry, a lot of those processes are in real life quite slow. So and I didn't see what you actually were doing to Nick in the control room to keep his interest up.
Yeah.
Because the process he is monitoring might be very slow.
Exactly.
Actually. So
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, that is a challenge. It is because the process is going more and more automatically. It requires less and less actions from the users. But as examples, what I can, I mean, we are not done with the project yet. So, but you have these mastery levels, for example, to making it more clear that you develop as a person in the company. You start as a novice operator, but then in the end you're a ninja operator that can manage and supervise others. To make that more visual, for example, and to maybe make the routine tasks that the operator are doing, to do them more engaging. So for example, doing maintenance, field tours, cleaning, taking measurements and samples out in the industry, making that part more engaging is one thing we are working with for the moment.
Yeah. How do you manage people who don't want to participate within organizations? And who do you think should create the rules?
Yes. Do you mean who? Do you mean the users that don't want to participate, or the?
Yeah, the co-workers, for example.
That
If you
are-
have people who don't want to participate in a game, but the manager decides that everyone should participate,
Yeah.
how do you manage the people who don't want to participate? And who
Again,
do you think should?
I mean, it is based on the assumption, at least, that you have co-workers that want to make the company successful. I think that is like a basic, what do you say, assumption we are doing. But then we also base it on like what is motivating that co-worker. If we have a lot of co-workers that don't want to work, why is that? What is, I mean, everybody has some kind of motivation. Can't we like pull that up and make them engage and want them to participate in this game, controlling the process?
So can you speak a little bit to the ethical issues with, for example, I heard that there was a lot of attempts to gamify more low-skilled jobs, especially in the US, where I come from. And a lot of the times it's more to drive productivity. The goal is really to drive productivity versus to make people engaged, and mostly makes people burned out, of course.
Yes.
Can you speak to ethics of it, please?
I can just give a comment that it's, I mean, there is a dark side of gamification that you can use. And we try to use the good side of gamification, not turning our products and systems into that things. We want to decrease the stress levels. But I think I need 1 hour to go into that topic, so.
Okay, I think we close the questions now. We will give you more questions during the break we have, and we will be back at 11 o'clock here. And a big applaud for Susanne.